Former President Biden is pushing back against allegations that his staff used the autopen to sign pardons at the end of his term. Now, it's a topic both chambers of Congress have been investigating. But Biden says those allegations are completely false, telling the New York Times about his clemency decisions, quote, "I made every single one of those." Biden also responded to claims that he was, quote, incapacitated while aides allegedly abused the autopen. He said of Republicans, quote, "They're liars. They know it. They know for certain they've done so badly. They've lied so consistently about almost everything they're doing. The best thing they can do is try to change the focus and focus on something else." He further explained, "I was deeply involved. I laid out a strategy how I want to go about these, dealing with pardons and commutations." But the White House isn't buying any of it, and President Trump weighed in last hour. Watch.
The autopen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. But, you know, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful. But I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee you he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it.
Paul, an amazing answer. And it also, he went on to talk about the president, about when the autopen should be used. And he talked about the masses of letters that they receive from kids, where the autopen should be reserved for non-policy, non-actual delegative instances where you expect a rote signature. You know, you're grateful that you got anything, but the notion that it came at the behest of the president, that he indeed knew there are far too many questions about this, far too many that circle as the constellation goes. It's not just the autopen. It's the autopen plus not knowing anything about policy, plus being out of the country, plus being about things that were so impactful to this country.
And, you know, thank God for that debate, because we might actually have to buy into, to some degree, his side of things here, because he's saying, no, I was completely compos mentis, you know, I mean, I knew everything I was doing. And we just know factually, having seen the debate, that it couldn't possibly be true. And so obviously he is spinning, and it's really unfortunate. It really, I go back to what we said a number of times here on the couch, which is Jill probably shouldn't let him go out and do these interviews, because I don't think they're doing his legacy any favor, because right now we just can't believe him. The other thing I would say real quick is this: bureaucracies all have an auto pen. Generally, however, there is a person who has been delegated very specifically to do that signing. The NYPD, it's not a robot, it's a person that literally signs it. And at least then there's some human interaction. So what I would say is, when he says, well, I didn't know each 1,600 specifically, I did it categorically, then why didn't you say that at the time? I'm going to put out an executive order. I am going to pardon this category of people, and that it would have assuaged all of this. This was all done behind his back, and we all know it.
Well, what's interesting, too, Harris, is that the question that preceded our president's response just then pointed out that President Biden never sat down with the New York Times, not even once.
Right.
But now all of a sudden is, and I note that he's not tamping down his anti-Republican rhetoric. Certainly that hasn't changed at all. Thanks so much in this climate. I think it would do him better to do that. But it's interesting he's coming out now to explain what really deserved attention from the beginning.
Yeah, and I like what you just said, too. No, I'm glad that no one is keeping him from his finer self at this moment, because we do need to have it reinforced who he really is and who he has been, because the Republicans in the House and Senate are going to continue to press in on their investigations, and I think it's important that we understand.
He's reminding us.
Right. He's just giving us more receipts. But look, here are some now. Biden auto pen and clemency. Biden granted more acts of clemency than any previous president on record. He granted 29% of clemency requests that he received. 96% of his acts of clemency, either pardoning people or commuting their sentences, were granted during his final months in office, October 1st, 2024, until Inauguration Day of Trump. Wow. I mean, in 4 months. And by the way, it was 4,245 of them. What was going on? Was there anybody there for each of those? And Emily, you've often pointed out, but his son he signed, right? The one for Hunter Biden, he signed. Yep. And there is a way to tell a difference. You and others have talked about, you know, the forensic evidence that you can tell whether or not it was an auto pen or him signing it.
Yeah.
Well, look, this all hinges on, do these documents that he signed, including the pardons, et cetera, do they lack presidential authorization or not? And President Biden has the worst instincts ever, because at a time when the House Oversight Committee is on you right now, trying to investigate this very subject, you then decide to give an interview to the New York Times, just throwing gasoline onto the fire. Like, what are you doing, buddy? And then also in the interview, he tells the New York Times, my family did nothing wrong. They're innocent. Well, hello, buddy. We know that your son, Hunter, did a lot of things wrong, especially going back to that gun conviction. 3 felony charges, pleading guilty to state-level charges in California with those tax charges as well. And then also, if Hunter did nothing wrong, why are you giving him this blanket pardon going back to January 2014 when he started with Burisma Holdings? So, he really just has the worst political instincts, because I think he has just made this entire situation so much worse for himself. But we love it.
Yeah, well, one of the things that caught my attention, especially with regard to what's happening on Capitol Hill and these investigations going on, was the word orally, that he communicated these decisions orally, right? So what can happen in a conversation? You can easily forget. And when you would know this more than I would as an attorney, that when you're being asked in a legal framework, if you remember something from a conversation, let's say to an aide, they can very easily now have cover and say, I don't recall, because it was a conversation. The record there was third parties involved with this record, with the staff secretary and the aides telling the secretary, this is what the president said. There's just too much here that makes it complicated, which also makes it easy for these aides to not give details.
That's a great point.
We talk about all the time. This wouldn't pass muster, for example, in estate planning, in a will execution or codification in law. So it's so mind-blowing that this has been allowed, however, to hold in something so deeply important.
In that context, you know what the assumption would have been about who signed Hunter Biden's pardon? Hunter Biden.
Totally.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.